OK Turbo is back. Here's my 87 Grand National. I just got done doing some changes to the PCV system. Added some catch cans. I think I've got it all ready to fire up, so we're going to see how that goes. What I've done is on the PCV side, you've got PCV valves down on the intake, and it draws vapor from the crankcase, that lifter valley, through this. It's going to be going through this Motion Raceworks catch can, and then back here where it goes into the intake. So hopefully that'll catch vapors and condensation and things like that, keep it all sealed up. This has got a check valve on the vacuum side, so when it goes into boost, it'll turn that off. Then the pressure gets high, there's a relief valve there in this vent cap, so that's what happens there. So now on the clean air side, I'm taking clean air downstream of the mass airflow. Had a friend weld on 10 AN fitting onto that, so I'm running 5/8 hose all the way over here to this little catch can here. So what this is doing is, as this is pulling in, from the crankcase, pulling that way, fresh air is coming in here through this little catch can into the valve cover, through kind of use the old original valve cover cap and just ran a 10 AN line. So the point of this catch can is, if this ever goes positive on the valve cover, it'll catch anything that goes back that way. On the driver's side, what I did was, and I may end up teeing this into here somehow, but for the time being, if the crankcase pressure goes too high, like anything that's blowing out of the crankcase under boost is going through that PCV valve. If the PCV valve's not working right, if it can't flow enough to really vent things, this over here will kind of help. So this is a 10 AN line coming out of the driver's side valve cover, and it just runs underneath the brake booster here. I've got a check valve right here that only allows things to blow out. They won't be sucking anything in. So hopefully any of the makeup air for the PCV valve system is going, or the PCV system is going through this line, which is downstream of the mass airflow meter. So everything's metered. So this issue I've been having with high idle BLMs, where there's extra air coming in through the breathers, hopefully that's eliminated. So now all that will be metered for the mass airflow, so the computer's not tricked into thinking that the car is lean and adding fuel at idle. So that's kind of the idea. That's what's going on. I'm going to give it fired up here after it's been sitting. I have not reset the computer. We'll see how kind of how it goes. It's late February in Oklahoma. We have a warm day. It's up to like almost 70 degrees today. Last week it was 3 degrees, blizzard. So I think I've got everything hooked up right. I've looked over it a couple of times. I think I'm good. So I'm going to go inside the car and fire it up and see what happens. I may go ahead and let it warm up a little bit, and then hook up the computer to the power logger and maybe take a closer look at some of the data. But anyhow, back in a flash. Okay, here's the cold start. Fire right up. Oil pressure going up to 60 psi. It's going to have to warm up enough to get the car into closed loop. This does have a wideband, so that's my wideband. That's the air fuel ratio right now. This is the ScanMaster version 2.2, I think is what they call it. AEM X Series wideband on the car. Nothing sounds weird. Leak over here. I don't know, let it warm up and then see what the numbers look like. As I sit here and watch this, I think I remember putting it into an open loop idle. So I may need to get the computer out, hook it up to the power logger, and make sure I get it off of the open loop idle. So let me go get the computer and check that. Okay, I figured it out. Yes, it is in a open loop idle. So when I was having the problems before, so I turned it on to open loop idle. So this is on the power logger. It shows that cell 12004. Looking through the instructions on my extender chip. So this is the extender chip. It's kind of old school now, but when it came out, it was pretty high tech. So what I'm going to do is, for anybody that still uses this kind of thing, kind of show you how you change these parameters. You got to have the instructions. It's not that simple. I'm sure if I get a turbo tweak chip, it'll be easier. But here it kind of shows in the instructions. Program, parameter 12. If you want open loop idle, it'd be 4, lean cruise 2, launch assist 1. So you add those up. So if I want open loop idle plus lean cruise mode, I'd put in a value of 6 there. Launch assist 1. It kind of explains what some of these things are, but right now that is set to 4, which means it's in open loop idle, which I want to turn off to see if all these PCB upgrades really do something. So to make that change, turn on the ignition without starting it, and then you can go to the INT. So that shows it's on parameter 12, because with the extender chip, there's a few things like, with the air conditioner on, it goes to a different parameter. With it in park or drive, it goes to different parameters. That's kind of how you program this stuff. So this one is in 12. It's set to 4 now, so I want it to be 0. So to actually change the value, you go to the block learn. So you can see it's set to 4. So you kind of hear my boost controller. Well, maybe I'll just turn it off. Turn the boost controller off, because you once the throttle goes up, it starts buzzing the solenoid. So anyhow, so now what you do is you push on the gas pedal till you get the value that you want, and then when it's there, you hold the gas pedal at that position, you turn the ignition off, and that'll hopefully program it. So let's see if I can make this happen. So it goes up to about halfway. Okay, now it's at 0. If I wanted to change it to another value, you see how I can press further? So I want it to be 0. So if I turn off the ignition now, that should have programmed that to 0. So let's see if that happened. It hasn't changed on the power logger yet. So it's on 12 and it is 0. So the value is 0. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up the car again, and then we'll get power logger going and seeing if that cell right there that's in yellow, if it changed to 0. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay, so now it should be in closed loop idle. So if it's warmed up to that point again, it may take it a minute to get back there. Basically, we're going to find out now is if the computer's able to adjust, keep everything idling at the target air fuel ratio and RPMs and everything at idle. So, see what the coolant's at now. It's a 161. It should go into closed loop pretty fast. It doesn't show it yet on power logger, so sometimes it takes it a few minutes to actually get there. Oh, I think I just heard it do it. Okay, so the computer's kind of figuring it out. It's kind of a little rough right now. I may need to do pull the power to the computer, let it just reset and relearn. And right now the block learns at 128. Integrator's at 121, so it's actually pulling a little fuel. So I think it's kind of trying to find its way around after running rigid, thinking it's, yes, running rigid idle, thinking it's lean, adding fuel. Okay. So I think I got it where it needs to be. I'm going to let it sit here for a minute, kind of think about it. Then I'll probably go for a drive and see how it does. But next time we'll probably look under the hood, make sure nothing's leaking. It was starting to idle a little smoother, but it was definitely rougher in the closed loop mode. So there still is always that option, but now that I've made these changes, I think it will idle better. So just kind of give it like basically just a computer reset. I'm going to unplug this. This is the power going to the computer. Unplug that for a few minutes and just let the computer reset, and then next time I fire it up, it'll basically start relearning. So I'm going to do that and see if that helps. So it's the next day, just fired it up, so everything's still kind of cool. I'm letting it warm up. I'm going to go for a drive. So reset the computer. See the integrator, block learns both at 128, so it'll be going into learn mode here as soon as I start driving and it warms up. So I'll go back and check the numbers after I've driven it for a while, and hopefully the computer has learned where it needs to be, and we'll see what the integrator and the block learn looks like after that. Okay, just got back from a little drive. It's idling pretty good. It says it's still in learning mode. I went out, I washed it at the car wash, went out on the highway for a little bit, came back into town, put a few gallons of 93 octane in it, and then drove around town. It's still in learning mode, but looks like the idle cell is at 117, so it's actually at this point it's actually taken out quite a bit of fuel. The integrator's like bouncing around. You can see it up and down, 127, 128, 130. So maybe the BLM will go up a little bit there, but the integrator's more of your short-term fueling correction. The BLM's the longer term. The other cells, they're 128, 127, so all that looks good. So I'm gonna just go with that. I think I'm done for today. I'll probably go ahead and put this video together, but once it gets out of BLM learning mode, I kind of have a better idea, but it certainly looks like it worked, and the car's running pretty good, so I think it was a success.